Once again, we are here talking about fanboys. It's a topic I really love to talk about, and yeah, at the moment it's getting a little bit out of hand, especially because I'm making a lot of content about the new AMD CPUs, and a lot of people have the feeling that I'm doing only anti-AMD videos because all the videos I'm doing are against AMD. That's what people say, at least judging by comments like this. Actually, a lot of the comments were German, but people were saying that now an Intel fanboy is making AMD videos. Respect. Only an Intel shill could be disappointed by Ryzen 3000. And I'm not disappointed by Ryzen 3000. That's the thing. I really like those CPUs. They're technically extremely interesting. But if I find something that's maybe not working or that I find personally interesting, I will make a video about it. I will talk about it. This YouTube channel, it's not my full-time job or anything like that. It's because I love hardware, I love talking about those topics and testing this stuff. I've been in this industry for 15 years, and that's just because that's my passion. I just do this because it's my passion. And sometimes those Intel fanboy, AMD fanboy comments get a little bit out of hand. And last week when AMD contacted me, even AMD had the feeling that my videos are somehow a little bit anti-AMD, but they're not. The thing is, all of this is strictly scientific. And going back in history of the videos I made, I would just like to talk about some topics I made in the past and some of the special videos I made, especially against companies. It sounds a little bit wrong saying that it's against a company, but it's just very critical videos about specific topics. The thing is, we really need those videos. We need videos where we're talking about things that are not working or things we don't like. If we're all just making videos and saying, oh, this product is great, this product is great by this, by that, doesn't help anyone. It's not going to improve anything for the future. For example, December 2018, I made a video about a Z390 socket and how the Z390 socket or the 9900K would work with half of the pins, and it would be no problem to use it on C170, C270. Obviously, Intel didn't like that video. October 2018, I made a video about 9900K when it was launched, about the solar TIM, about how you can still improve the temperatures on 9900K by deleting it. You can still drop the temps, and Intel didn't like that video because half of the marketing around 9900K was based on the solar TIM. August 2018, I made a lot of videos about EPYC and EPYC overclocking. AMD kind of liked it, at least some people I know at AMD liked it, but in generally AMD didn't like it because those server CPUs are not meant to be overclocked. And it's the same for Intel and AMD. Both of them don't like when you touch server CPUs, if you modify them, if you're overclocking them. That's a big no-no for both of those companies. In April 2018, made a video about Zen Plus deleting. Actually recommended that it's a good CPU and that it's not worth deleting it, even though people are saying I'm not doing content about AMD Zen. January 2018, I made a lot of videos of Threadripper versus EPYC, or a lot of videos where I analyzed Threadripper. All of this started because I got my hand on a very early 1950X 16-core AMD Threadripper. When I had it, I thought it would be extremely interesting to look what's underneath. So deleted the CPU, found 4 dies underneath, even though we all thought it would just be 2. Contacted AMD marketing and asked if I can post this video, if this can be part of the unboxing embargo, or if this is not, because I'm not showing performance, right? AMD marketing said, yeah, you can show it, because don't show performance. One day after I posted the video, AMD called and said, you cannot upload that video, you have to take it down. So I had to take the video down. Even though it was already, I don't know, it had like 50,000 views already, had to take it down, but all the other news media websites picked it up already, it was all over the internet. So yeah, didn't really make sense to take down the video. A few days later, there was a statement from AMD saying, hey, those are dummy dies, those are not real CPUs, there are no circuits on there. They're basically rocks. That's what AMD said. So I thought, that doesn't really make sense. Made a video about analyzing Threadripper dies, so grinded down the dies, did like die shots, found out that all 4 dies were active. I said, the only real conclusion would be that there is a 32-core AMD Threadripper coming. AMD said there will be no 32-core Threadripper on AMD. That's wrong. Those dies are dummies. Half a year later, we had a 32-core Threadripper. And that's one of the big things. Talking about marketing. So AMD marketing, or AMD is doing a lot of marketing in a very good way. They know how to play with the community. That's something I really respect, and I think they have a good marketing department. But they're also sometimes making marketing, especially for example for Ryzen 3000, where the technical marketing director was drawing this curve, saying, hey, the CPU might boost up to 4.75, which then would just give you wrong expectations. And things like that, just things I don't like. And if they're saying something like this, but in reality it's never going to happen, I will say it. And there's nothing wrong with that. On the other hand, Intel marketing, what Intel marketing? Intel marketing basically doesn't really exist. Their marketing is absolutely terrible compared to AMD. But they don't really say things, they don't really play around with the community like AMD. So it's very difficult to bash on Intel the way you can do it with AMD if they're making statements like the 4.7 gigahertz. So yeah, that's why it's sometimes, or looks like, there will be more content against AMD marketing than Intel marketing, because I don't know what kind of marketing Intel is doing. August 2006, for example, I made a video about the NVIDIA high bandwidth bridge. Back in those days, NVIDIA was showing the new high bandwidth SLI bridge, which was supposed to deliver more bandwidth and accelerate the SLI speed, which in reality didn't really happen, and those bridges were really expensive compared to a normal $2 SLI bridge. That's why I made an X-ray analysis and showed that the high bandwidth bridge is basically the same, just a little bit better signal quality, but it's not gonna do any magical things. NVIDIA didn't like that video, obviously. June 2017, the X299 disaster. That's a special thing I will talk about in a second. April 2017, I made a video about Ryzen 5 extreme overclocking, the 1600X. So the first Ryzen. That's a video where I flew on my own costs to Taiwan just to make this video, just out of personal interest. All those costs were covered by myself. So that's what I do, because I just like to do those things, and then I cover it in the video, but I do it on my own expenses. June 2017, the X299 VRM disaster. That's a video that's probably the most critical or most difficult video I've ever posted. And the reason for that is that I burned a lot of bridges and a lot of contacts with this video. It goes actually back like 2 years before the X299 VRM disaster happened. Just to give you a summary, if you didn't follow the video, in June 2017 I made a video saying that on X299 the VRM components are quite good, but the heatsink designs are so terrible that overclocking will be limited in a lot of cases, especially considering that back then we only had those CPUs with 6 to 10 cores, and then there were like 12 and 18 cores coming in with those high core count CPUs. It would be a problem with really big overclocking, and overclocking would just be limited by the VRM cooling solution. The thing is, I already reported those issues with X99, Z170, Z97, Z270. I reported those issues to mainboard manufacturers because they were already existing. And even with AMD platforms back then, AM3, we had those issues. And I kept reporting it, said, hey, there is something, the CPU is throttling because the VRM is getting too hot. And I was getting feedback from some mainboard manufacturers saying, yeah, we know that those problems exist, like in those overclocking situations, but the heatsink design just looks better, which was fine with X99, and like C170 was still okay, but with X299 it got a little bit out of hand. Like the cooling solutions were absolutely terrible, and that's why I made this video. And see what I mean, just take a look what happened over the last 2 years. The VRM cooling solutions improved so much. All the reviewers are now focusing a lot on the VRM cooling solution, which is something nobody really did before that. And now we don't really have that problem anymore. And that just shows that if there is a problem, if something doesn't work, even if it's just a tiny feature, we have to talk about it. We have to make it public in some of the cases. Typically, I report problems first and then make it public. But if you make it public, if you talk about the problems, vendors are always more willing to fix them, which you can see with the X299 VRM thing. So it's really important that reviewers, or not just reviewers, but also you as a normal user, if you're encountering a problem, you have to talk about it. And then posting like on Reddit and saying, okay, maybe the CPU is not boosting to 4.6, but who cares? I mean, that's not how it works. Then we could just list the CPU with 6 GHz and in reality it has 4, and it's like, okay, I'm not hitting specs, but who cares? That's not how it works. Things have to work the way they're advertised to and the way they should work. If they don't, we have to talk about it, we have to make it public in order to improve things for the future. That's nothing personal, because really, why would I do that? Like, I don't own AMD stocks, I don't own Intel stocks, I don't know anyone personally in those companies. Like, I mean, I know people working in those companies, but it's not like some family members are working there or anything like that. Or, you know, even if there is a new CPU or new mainboard generation coming out, I never get samples from Intel or AMD. I never get support in this direction, and that's totally fine to me, I don't care. But it just shows that if you're being critical like that, it's gonna make your life harder, obviously, as a reviewer, but it's also important to stay honest. For example, Steve from Gamers Nexus is doing exactly the same. He's being very open about if things don't go right, and he also tells me that sometimes he's expecting CPU manufacturers not to support him with the current generation, which then is bad for him because he cannot produce any content or test it even before launch. But it's important that we talk about it. That's just what I wanted to highlight in this video. I don't care if it's Nvidia, Intel, AMD, whatever. I will just test whatever I like, whatever I find interesting. If I like things, if they're great, I will say it. If something is not cool, I will also say it. And that's the way it's supposed to be, I assume. That's the end of the video. That's just something I wanted to tell you. That's because some people have the impression that I'm really doing a lot of content against AMD, but I'm doing content against everyone if it's necessary, but I'm also promoting everyone if it's possible, if they're cool products. For example, AMD new launches, I'm doing liquid nitrogen records and all of that. I'm doing that for Intel, for Nvidia, for AMD, whenever there's something cool. If you still think I'm an Intel or AMD fanboy, put it down in the comments. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you soon.